This video has been sponsored by Beltline Hobbies and by the Canfield and Wooster train shows, February 14th, 2026 and March 14th, 2026. Hi everybody, it's Chris at the Cloverdale Transit Authority, and this is a video that is long overdue, and those of you who might follow my channel or follow me on Instagram know that the layout, the small layout I have, the 42 by 75 inch layout is well past this state, but I started recording chapter 2 or part 2 of the layout build back in September, and I never really got a chance to put it together. So for posterity's sake, I'm gonna just do this chapter 2, part 2 of the layout, and a lot of this has to do with getting the structure in place and getting the electrical all put together. So, of course, this layout was designed to be a temporary layout and come apart and so forth, and I'm not sure whether or not it still is, or it certainly the structure, which is based on a 6-foot folding table, that's easy to take down, but the wiring and the scenery has become a lot more complex than what I had planned on. But we started off with this folding table. And of course the power supply for this is a Lionel ZW from the early 1950s. And I even bought this really nice table on Amazon that has a couple of Edison plugs in it, so I can plug it and unplug it real easily. There's even a couple of USB chargers, and then there's a couple of shelves, but this will butt up next to the table and it's right at the same level. And originally, again, there was just the idea of putting a piece of insulating foam with a couple of 2x4s or 4 2x4s to support it on top of the table, because the foam is actually bigger or wider than the table. It's as long as the table, but it's wider than the table. And I discovered that that wasn't really going to work, so we got some 3 to 3/4 inch plywood or fiber board that would give it a little more structure. So I put the 3/4 inch fiber board in place with some gaff tape so that it was stuck to the table, but it could be taken off of the table, again with the idea that this was going to be temporary, and that way if somebody bumped into it, it wouldn't slide around. And you can see again that it is wider than the table, but as long as the table. And then on top of that is going to go the foam board that we had originally, but the foam board around the edges would sag, so this gave it that extra structure that it needed. The next step was to take the vinyl grass mat that was set for, I think it was big wide roll, and I think it was for spring or summer. I can't remember the color of the grass, but lay that out face down on the living room floor and put the fiber board on top of it, and then kind of wrap the fiber board like a present, where around the edges, and we used sticky pads to kind of wrap it in there. Again, it's not glued to the foam board, that way it can be taken apart if it needs to be. But that's how we got it all attached to the foam board, and then we took that and put it on top of the fiber board, and again using gaff tape to kind of secure everything together so it wouldn't move around if somebody bumped into it. The next step was to get the track down, first starting with the ground level track, which includes the little spur, the little siding spur that would go into the railroad scrapyard, and then I got the continually reused circle of 031 tubular track up on the old post-war bridge abutments, which has been used over and over again on the various sizes of layouts we've been doing in the solarium. Okay, next is the part I dislike the most about doing model railroading, and that is all the wiring. But there's some things that have made it a little bit easier. So using that 4-channel or 4-track ZW allowed me to use 2 of the smaller controls to control a couple of the different lighting schemes, and then the 2 main controls for the 2 different tracks. So the first thing I did was I sort of wired all that stuff together at 2 different points. So I had 2 different drops for power on the big oval, and then 1 drop on the circle. But then I used these bus bars to run wiring to all the different things that were going to light up. That way I didn't have to just run constant wire. And you can watch different videos on how to use these, but it's great because you can sort of use this as a hub. Think of it kind of like doing networking with computers and your Wi-Fi and everything, but a hub that would allow things to, you know, plug into here, and then 1 set of wires running back to the transformer. So I have spent a lot of time doing live audio-visual for live events, for corporate meetings and stuff like that. So kind of getting everything wired together and tested is the way we went about doing those types of setups. Usually go into a facility and we're temporarily putting in video projection and sound and so forth. So this is very much like that. And I would put stuff together, and then I would test it, and then I would put the next piece together and I would test it. And then, you know, it started becoming kind of like a plumber's nightmare underneath there, but that's not to worry. And one thing I would suggest, again from my experience, is that you get it all wired together and you get everything tested. And then the last thing you do is you tidy up, because if you tidy as you go, that seems like the normal kitchen procedure, clean as you go. But then you might have to take things apart and re-tidy them. So get it all working and then tidy it up. A key step before all of this, I should have mentioned, is plan out where everything's going to go that needs electricity. And that helps you, know where you need to run your wires. And I will point out also that, I just drilled straight through the foam board, the fiber board, and the table. I figured this table is only going to be used for model railroading, so I didn't really care that I was drilling through this plastic table. I just wanted to make sure where I was drilling was not where there was any of the metal understructure as far as the legs and everything else goes. So you'll see that under here that, it's pretty much, drill where needed. Okay, again, the secret is test, keep testing, test your trains, test the different things that are lighting up, so that you know that you're not going to just do this whole thing and tidy it all up and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, I can't get this to work, why doesn't this work? So you keep testing. And also remember that if you're using these Menards buildings, like I have one Menards building on here, that they have a different power supply. So, they've got the different adapters that plug in, and you can drill those through and plug them in, but you can't wire it into the rest of the stuff. It's a different type of power supply system. So you're going to have all that to deal with, and you just tidy it up like you did everything else. Probably the last step for me was to sit down here at night and take different photos and video at different angles and see how it looked. Make sure not to turn up the power too much on some of the things, because obviously there's a limited voltage on some of these lights. They're just little, essentially flashlight light bulbs. So you want to make sure that you're, keeping it, around 12 to 15 volts at the most on your lighting if you're running it off of your transformer. And so that was the next step, and then I was ready to start tackling the scenery, and I'm going to do that in the next part, which hopefully will be out before 6 months passes. And thank you again for watching this video. If you like this content, if you like the ideas that I'm giving you, and hopefully hearing back from you your ideas, don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the little bell so you get notifications. Thank you so much. We will catch you on the next video.